What's up, YouTube? I'm Josh Harum. I'm a cinematographer and director based in St. Louis, and this is going to be the behind the scenes of my recent short film, The Hunted, that I wrote in December of 2023 and found financing and got made in February of 2024. So a very short timeline, and I wanted to get into kind of how I got this film made and what all went into it. The idea came from just an image I had when I was laying in bed, probably last September 2023. And it was of footprints in the snow with a bloody track. I think I actually saw it on the film The Hunted, so it might have just been sticking with me. But that idea wouldn't leave me. I'm like, okay, well, what's the tracks? Is the guy hunting an animal and that's where the blood's coming from, or is the tracks actually another person who's bleeding? And then I was like, well, what if it was like two hunters, but one of them is hunting the other one? And that's kind of where the story started. But I'm like, okay, well, why would he be doing that? And so it led me down this path of writing this script. I set it in the world of Doomsday preppers and conspiracy theorists, and came up with this concept of people moving to a commune and things not turning out the way they were hoping. And I can't spoil the film, but basically I wrote the script. I brought in another writing partner, PJ Hedman, to finish it out, because I'm not a writer per se. I do write, but I wouldn't say it's like my strongest point. So I usually try to bring in someone else to tweak the dialogue and kind of do the finishing touches. And I don't mind sharing the credit with somebody like PJ, who's a better writer than me. So we finished it. I ended up going around. My plan was to kind of go around to different production companies and people that I know that own production companies and ask for maybe $5,000 to $10,000 to make the film, and each person would be an executive producer, and their film production company would get the logo at the front of the film and be able to go to the festivals, and it would be their film with me attached as the director. And people were interested, but it ended up just not working out. But in the meantime, I had to look for a location, and I asked a friend if he could ask his uncle for this property that is a brilliant property about 2 hours north of St. Louis, with a big mansion, cabin, hunting lodge, and then like 2,000 acres of hunting grounds. And we did a location scout. The AD, myself, and the DP, Ben Harrell, and we planned out the different shots. We shot listed the whole film. We came up with the schedule. I brought on another producer who was helping me with all of the logistics. His name is Michael Kennedy. He's produced 2 other feature films in St. Louis area and also a short film last year. And so I trusted him to kind of help me and bring this thing to life. And so he was actually a part of the process pretty early on, like when I was going around and asking people for financing. He was already kind of a part of it, but really in pre-productions where we were planning and talking to insurance companies and figuring out the budget and how much we needed and how much we needed to pay people, and then getting a crew involved and all the stuff, that all happened in a very short amount of time, probably like 1 month. And we locked in the dates for February 9th through the 11th. I think some of the hardest things was finding certain cast. I think Gary was the last person to get cast. And we found Keith Nussbaum after asking a few other people, and it was a perfect. He brought a lot to the character of Gary that I didn't even expect, and so that was really cool. And Kevin Roethlisberger I had known before, and he's a director himself and also a very experienced actor. So I just met up with him at a coffee shop, and we got to talking, and I'm like, hey, well, I'm doing this film. We were talking about some other stuff, but I was like, I'm doing this film. I would love to have you and your wife in it. And sent them the script, and they were in. So it's just like everything came together, and And then we had 3 shooting days. They were 12-hour days. They were a bit too packed. I think that's the one thing that I look back on and I'm like, I wish I would have scheduled like 4 or 5 days for this film. And so they were pretty packed, and we were kind of always behind, not the middle day, but the first and the last day. We were always behind on schedule and just rushing. So that was a real shame, because I feel like based upon a lot of like who's going to be a great time over this like weekend away, it's not just like we're showing up to shoot a commercial and we all go home every night. It's like we're living in this mansion. So I wanted it to be a great experience, and I picked the crew, but I think just the stress of the schedule didn't really play well in that, because if you want like a very fun vibe on set, you gotta not be moving at 100 miles per hour the whole day. You gotta have some time to think creatively and bounce ideas, and I just don't feel like we had that. It was basically like, I need to get 2 takes, maybe 3, and that's good enough, and we gotta move on. And even then we cut so many shots. So that's the one thing I wish I would have planned more, was just time. Do a 4 or 5 day shoot, but that would also add a lot more money. And initially I was thinking this would just be like me and my friends, like maybe $5,000, maybe $10,000, but then it ended up costing around $16,000 for production, and then it'll be another like $16,000 or $17,000 for post-production. So that's one thing I learned from this, is scheduling a lot more time, and I kind of knew that already. I don't know why I guess just for the sake of finances, I try to make it in the shortest amount of time possible, and we were able to do it. I went back and did a pickup day with just one actor, but mainly we shot everything that we needed for the film in those 3 days. It just was not as fun of a time than if it wasn't so stressed and moving so fast. But other than that, it was a great shoot. We had pretty much every position filled as far as like the key positions. I mean, we didn't have like a major G&E team or something. It was like 3 or 4 people. We had an AD, first in, second AC, sound guy, makeup, production designer, behind the scenes photographer and videographer, and location manager. It felt like the perfect amount of crew, maybe a little bit too many. I like just keeping the crew like as small as possible, but I knew I wanted Steadicam, so that was another position, Steadicam op. But yeah, we were shooting all over this property, all over this house. After shooting it, we got into editing, and the trailer just released on April 3rd, 2024, and we're looking to do the post-production till about the middle of May. So at the time of filming this, we have about a month, and we'll get a couple more drafts, and we'll start on sound design and music composing and the color, the VFX. All those are kind of during the next couple weeks. And so yeah, that's the plan, is to go to film festivals, submit in May, and go probably in the fall. I'm really hopeful for this film. It feels much more mature than my last films, and obviously I'm still early in my career and I'm learning, but as long as I'm getting better on each film, that's like what I love, and I learn so much, and it just feels like a miracle every time I get to make a film. So thank you for watching this. I hope this was interesting, and yeah, go out there and make your own film. It can happen. It's not as hard, or sometimes it is hard, but like it can happen. Peace.